Most baby boomers are rapidly becoming homeless. They are becoming homeless faster than any other group of people in the United States right now. Today's video comes from the Philosophical Gamer. His channel will be linked in the description of the video so that you can go check him out and support him. Watch to the end of the video to fully understand the implications of so many boomers now becoming homeless and what this is going to mean for them going forward. Don't forget to follow us on Rumble. We're trying to get 1,000 followers on Rumble, so help us reach that so that you will never lose access to our content ever again. Go and follow us on Rumble. It's linked description of the video. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video after a word from Angry's Crypto Academy. So, guys, you know what the deal is. You know hard times have arrived. You don't want to end up like the baby boomers. You don't want to end up out in the streets. You want to prepare for hard times because they are here now. And the best thing you can do to protect yourself and protect your wealth is with crypto. The financial system is on the brink. ATMs will freeze and banks could close their doors. Your assets are at serious risk. Discover how to protect your wealth with cryptocurrency at Angry's Crypto Academy. You'll master the skills to buy, sell, trade, and invest in the most secure coins. Plus, uncover 4 coins that virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. Click the link in the video description below to find out what these cryptos are and join the academy today. And now let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
Percent of boomers have completely run out of their retirement savings. They have limited options when it comes to returning to work. Their healthcare costs are skyrocketing, and as a result, they now make up a record amount of the homeless population. Nearly half the homeless population today is over the age of 50. Boomers are in a crisis right now. But how did this happen? This is the generation that inherited the most booming economy in modern history and had economic opportunities in their youth that US Gen Z and millennials can only dream of. What happened to all their money? And more importantly, did they deserve this? We spend a lot of time on this channel shitting on boomers, and for the most part, it's justified. Their reckless behavior and outdated mentalities has undoubtedly destroyed the world for future generations. As this comment puts it perfectly, they're the only generation that had it better than their parents and their children. In times like these, however, I believe it's important to realize that not every boomer is horrible on an individual level, and that we should always have some empathy towards our fellow human beings when we see them suffering. A lot of you are probably wondering right now, how on earth did they manage to squander all their wealth? In the booming post-war economy they grew up in, everyone could find a decent job, and it was literally possible to buy a house within a few years of working. What the hell happened? It turns out the insane, unbearable living costs that have absolutely destroyed young people today are starting to now catch up to boomers as well, though in a much different way. Only about 28% of boomers have savings of $100,000 or more. Now, $100,000 may sound like a lot, and it is for a young person. But when you're a senior citizen, it's really not that much at all. Medical expenses in the US are through the roof, and when you're old, it's a non-negotiable living expense. The average boomer spends around $50,000 per year to live, and as a result, even the luckiest boomers who have $100,000 saved up will run out in just 2 years. This presents them a really unique challenge. We already know painfully well just how hard it is to get a job in today's economy. It's already hard for us young people in our prime working years to get a job right now. Imagine if you've been retired for many years, but now your savings have run dry, and you have to try and re-enter the job market with your long, outdated skills. This is where a lot of boomers are getting a reality check and realizing that their own advice of just working harder and pulling themselves up by the bootstraps just isn't working anymore. With dwindling retirement savings, expensive medical care, and limited job prospects, a lot of boomers are living on borrowed time before they go homeless. And this has become a sad reality for many of them now. Now, with previous generations of elderly people, this problem was generally solved by aging parents moving in with their adult children to take care of them. In fact, in many countries around the world, this is still a cultural norm.
Something I've spoken to many of you about, and a lot of you refuse to accept this concept. This reality we now live in Western society, specifically in the United States and similar countries, is not normal. Yes, as Gen Xers or older millennials, we wanted to get away from our parents, many of us, because they were miserable and absolutely terrible people. But at the same time, or we just wanted our freedom, but at the same time, it's not common and it's not normal. Traditionally, and I shouldn't even say traditionally, up to the boomers, their generation, you would stay in your parents' house indefinitely. You never left your parents' house. You may have inherited your parents' house, but you never left your parents' house. It was normal for multiple generations to live under one roof. When you got married, it was normal for your wife to then move into their home, into your home and basically live in your home with you and your parents. The ide the boomers grew up during a time where the economy was so good that everyone could have their own house. And back in their day, people were just simply gifted homes. Like sometimes parents would just gift their children a house because it was that affordable. They were capable of doing that. The average home back during the boomer era typically costed no more than 1 year of a person's salary, take home pay. And that was max. And this was for people who never went to college. So the average person who never went to college was able to go get a job, doing whatever. And this is the story of my parents. My father never went to job, never went to college, and was able to, basically do fast food jobs in the early in the 80s. He was able to do fast food jobs in the 80s, save up lots of money, and then basically from there build a life for his family, you know? He's going from getting an apartment first, first living with family, then getting an apartment, and then moving to an even bigger apartment, and then purchasing a house. And it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. And now that house is worth like $1 million. I'm telling you, the boomers never really had any good intentions for their kids. There are some boomers who set their kids up and they're like, you see, my kids are doing great. Why aren't you doing good? All right, it's because you're a loser. You're a loser. I got mine. My kids got theirs. You didn't get yours. So you know what? You're a loser. Loser. That's how the boomers act. That's how they think. They are 100% bullies, and then they wonder why there's no empathy for them. Their plan, and I know this because I've heard my own boomer mother say this in the past, going on about, how other people's kids, are so wonderful, and these kids prepare meals for their parents, and they take care of the home, and their parents did not really even love them like that or take care of them like that. And to imagine that their kids would now come and have all of this love for them and care so much about them, even though they were not the best of parents. This is the boomer mentality. They were nasty people. I asked my own mother many times in the past. I asked her, did I have a good childhood? She refused to answer it. I said, okay, well, if I did have a good childhood, I'm not going to argue with you. If you say that I had a good childhood, I'll leave you alone. Just say it. If whatever you say, I'll leave you alone. Just say I did, and I leave you alone. Okay. The most I've ever been able to get out of her was, I did the best I could. I was like, okay, so I had a good childhood. It was kind of mixed. So did I have a good childhood or not? And they can't answer the question. Imagine how bad your parents must absolutely be. And they're liars. These are people who are liars, they are narcissists, they are thieves. And when they know that they gave you such a horrible childhood that they cannot even say honestly, yes, you had a good childhood. Yes, I did the best you get is I did my best. Okay, so I had a good childhood. I did my best. No, 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 no. Just say that you gave me a good childhood. Just say I had a good childhood. Not even a great one, but I had a listen, just say I had a good childhood. I can't talk to you right now. Listen, just say yes or no and I'll walk away. I can't talk to or they just give you the boomer lead paint stare where they just stare. Often is they just stare and their mouth drops. And it's like, why are you doing this? And they just stare. I have no idea. Guys, I don't know what the boomer lead paint stare, where it comes from, but for those of you who don't know the term is, it's basically like there's a saying that like, people who grew up back in those days, they were, they grew up in homes that had lead and as it's a result of that. But it's more of an inside joke among Gen Xers and older millennials. More so, it's just they just start staring off when you're speaking to them, and especially at like critical moments when you're asking them a question, or they're supposed to, are there basically any accountability would be going in their direction, they'll just start staring. But these are people who are handed everything and they took everything, they stole everything, and now they're going broke because they don't know how to live. While millennials, even Gen Xers have had to learn how to live on very little, but and Gen X, Gen Xers, millennials, even some Gen Zers, uh, the the average boomer has had so much. They've lived these extravagant lives. The only people that are richer than the baby boomers today are ancient rulers. Ancient rulers. Like this is insane stuff. All right? Because they are wealthier as a generation than any other group of people in the history of humanity. In 200,000 years, they also have the longest life expectancy by far of any generation in the history of humanity in 200,000 years. If someone can't see that something strange about that, it's crazy. So they will live far longer lives than their children because we know because so they will outlive Gen Z, Gen X, and the millennials and Gen Alpha in terms of life expectancy. And they will also have we also they also have far more wealth than their children. Their children have far less wealth than people who were born 100 years ago, while the boomers have far more wealth than any other group of people in the history of humanity. They stole all of it, and then they'll blame everyone else. They'll say that it's not my fault, blah blah blah. They're going broke because they don't know because they never knew how to live. And I'll tell you this right now. Sure, are they going to keep on living? Absolutely. But guess what? That doesn't mean that they're going to be in great shape physically. They think that their kids are going to bail them out, but they never spread wealth. They didn't spread their wealth among their children. They didn't help give their children stable lives so that their children could then later in turn around and help contribute and give back to them and say, okay, well, now I have a home of my own. Now I have this and this and this. I have something. You help give me a foundation. The most that a boomer will say is, well, I sent you to school, I gave you an education, and what you did with that is up to you. Or I brought you into this world, I gave you life. What more do you want? They didn't actually, a lot of them did not have us because they wanted us. They had us for selfish intentions. We were nothing more. We were unwanted, and then we were also nothing more than a retirement plan. So they threw us out, could care less about if we lived or didn't live. And now that they're getting old and they don't know how to survive, they're looking towards their kids to subsidize their living, which is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, it just shows you how absolutely corrupt these people are. And that again, that guys, that's why I continue to emphasize to you over and over and over that what's going to defeat the boomers is their own greed, because as things get worse, the boomers are going to be rushing into the crypto markets, as because hard times are here, the ATMs are going to stop working, the banks are going to chain up the doors, and the only way that you're going to be able to protect and safeguard your future is going to be with crypto. And I've said it already that at Angry's Crypto Academy, we'll teach you how to buy, sell, trade, and invest in crypto. We'll tell you exactly which coins will mint you millionaires and how to spot potential coins to invest in. So don't miss out. The Academy's linked in the description of the video below.
But with American boomers, this isn't really an option. And a lot of this is the result of their own doing. Their millennial and Gen Z children are struggling way too hard to make ends meet in their own right, to be able to afford to take care of their parents. And this is directly a result of how boomers ruined the economy for future generations. There's no way you can afford to take care of aging parents when you're barely staying afloat yourself. I'm sure most of you watching can relate. If your aging boomer parents needed you to support them right now, even if you wanted to, a lot of you just wouldn't be able to. So this leads us to the ultimate question, which we posed in the beginning of this video. Did the baby boomers ultimately deserve this? Did they make their own bed? And should they now sleep in it?
The answer is yes, yes, and absolutely yes. Now, what's really funny about this is that the boomers have also begun joining. I've talked about this, the die with zero, also known as the die with nothing movement, where they come to the philosophy that the best thing to do is to die with literally no money at all, so that and pass on nothing to anyone. So they would rather give their money to their caregivers or to the state than to give it to their children. Guys, this is I they want, it's like George Carlin said, they want all the toys for themselves, but at the same time, they want someone else to pay for them too. These people are crazy. They are so crazy. So their idea is when we're gone, and we're going to spite you that we're not. So if we're not around anymore, it's not our problem. And this is one final way of spiting you before we go, you know? So we'll make sure that, so hey, if you don't, it's not my problem if you need to, it's not my problem how I'm going to be buried or how my remains are going to be dealt with. That's going to be on you. It's all your problem. Everything is going to be your problem. Maybe they may have a life insurance policy. That's what a lot of them have, that covers the burial, and that's it. But they're going to leave massive amounts of debt and everything in their wake. It's going to be a catastrophic nightmare, absolute nightmare. There's going to be some idiots amongst us that are trying to cope, and it's literal nonsense. We are going to have a generational nightmare when the boomers do finally start passing away. And when that does happen, because many of them are going to live as long as we are, or outlive some of us, we're going to find ourselves in our many of us in our 60s and even 70s, when 60s is a given. Many of us are going to find ourselves even in our 70s when the boomers are finally passing away. In some cases, even our 80s when the boom. I know you're like, 80s, Edgar, are you insane? Some of these people will live to be 100, and we're gonna find many of ourselves in like old age ourselves, and just riddled with a mountain of despair and debt because of the boomers trying to handle their affairs. And then when they do pass away, we're going to make all of these crazy discoveries, like my father wasn't really my father, and blah blah blah. It's gonna be like, that's baby stuff, or like, there's other siblings. Again, that's like little, that's little stuff. I know you're like, little guys, it's going to be so much nonsense that these people leave behind. You're going to understand, like, wonder, who the hell were these people? Like, what the hell did we go through and live through? And again, there are going to be idiots amongst us that try to act like it's wonderful and blah blah blah. It's like, you guys are just terrible human beings. But yeah, the die with nothing thing is absolutely terrible. A lot of them are planning to die with zero, die with absolutely nothing, so that they will basically just, when they pass, the only thing that's going to be left is debt, and they could care less about their kids or anyone else. But many of them now are also looking towards their kids to supplement their living and their lifestyle, on the premise that even if we weren't good parents, that doesn't matter, because look at how much some other people have kids who love them, even though they weren't even around, or did very much for them. This is the boomers for you. This is the boomers. They were terrible, narcissistic criminals who stole our futures while we were still in diapers, and now they're looking for someone else to pass the buck on to. I don't know. It's madness.
My personal take is this. If I had boomer logic and a boomer mentality, if I were to apply their own logic to them, I would say absolutely yes. They were given the best economy, quite possibly, in human history, and a lot of their current problems just comes from their own mismanagement of the absurd amounts of wealth they accumulated. I also do feel just a slight bit of revenge watching them struggle in this current job market after they spent so much time detached from reality and criticizing the younger generation for not getting jobs. Now they've experienced firsthand just how hard it is. But alas, I am not a boomer, and I am not a person devoid of empathy. As much as that entire generation sucks as a whole, there are some nice individual people of the boomer generation, and they got screwed over just like the rest of us did. So, while we can safely say they made their own bed, let's not be completely devoid of empathy, as that's what ultimately makes us human. There are some nice individual people who are boomers, but Dave Ramsey certainly isn't one of them. This guy got completely destroyed by Gen Z.
Something I just kind of want to point out, it's our empathy that makes us human, but boomers don't have empathy for others. So what he's really saying is that most boomers, because he said some of them have empathy, but most don't. So he's saying that most boomers are not human. And I don't think he caught himself right there. He's literally saying that most boomers are not human and have no humanity, but it is our empathy for others that make us human. So we must be better than the boomers. Let me tell you something. Have empathy, have empathy, show kindness to those who show kindness to you. Have empathy for those who have empathy for you. Do not have empathy for the boomers. They will take advantage of it till the very end. That's the crazy thing about the boomers. Instead, we should be focusing on getting our money up and snatching away as much of that wealth from the boomers as we can. And we can do that with crypto because they've already run everything into the ground. They've run the economy into the ground. They've run real estate into the ground. It's oversaturated. It's overvalued. They've run the stock markets into the ground. It's oversaturated. It's overvalued. So when these traditional institutions and asset classes begin to collapse, they're going to look for something new to dump their money in that's safe, and they're going to be turning to crypto. And that's where we strike because the boomers are not too bright. Many of them are lazy. Many of them they stopped learning. Like for example, I'm going to be 42 this year, and I've learned more in the last couple of years than I've had than probably in over the course of my entire life, which is not to say that I didn't already know things, but I've had to learn even more. Like it's crazy how much I have to learn on a daily basis, and I'm just learning rapidly because I have to eat, I have to live, I have work to do. No one's going to come and save me, and my knowledge just continues to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow because that's how life is. The baby boomers are different. The average baby boomer is just really lazy. Okay, they can talk about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. Most of these people never went to college. I have two postgraduate degrees, and I worked on two different doctoral degrees as well. And I'm telling you, the average boomer doesn't know anything about that. They don't know what it's like to give away a decade or more of your life to university and then suffer in a workforce where you can barely make minimum wage with a postgraduate degree from a top university. Okay? They know nothing of these and they don't care. So the thing is that while we've been grinding and hustling since we were kids, that's something about Gen X. We found ways to make money. We found ways to survive. Sometimes our parents stole it from us, but that's just how the baby boomers were. But we've been finding ways to hustle and grind since we were children. For many, it's likely hard to hear this, but we will be the ones who will probably have to leave something for our parents versus versus our parents leaving something for us because they've basically run everything into the ground. And the notion is kind of like this right now, where you will have adult children like, well, if something happens to me, my parents aren't going to be able to survive. My mother's not going to be able to survive. My father won't be able to survive because they've squandered away everything. The same people who tossed me out when I was a kid. So now maybe I may have to go and, get a modular house because that's what's happening right now, or, build a house or have something so that if I'm not here, my parents will have a place to live and, some type of income. What kind of system is this? What kind of reality do we now live in where the child has to plan for their parents' future in case something happens to them so their parents can survive, even though we had parents who failed to plan for our futures or even their own futures. And what do these people do? It's crazy. For many of us, our grandparents have been gone for decades. I look back at my grandma, like a grandmother on my father's side. I think this woman died like 40 years ago, and I'll only be 42 this year. And I think this woman died I don't know if it's 40 years, like almost 40 years ago. My father's father, I think this guy died like 3 decades ago or more. Like my mo- my mother, my mother's father, he actually passed away well before I was born. So that guy died anywhere from like maybe almost 50 years ago. 50 years ago, and then even my mother's mother has been gone for over a decade. And I'm thinking and she lived long. She lived really long, well into her 80s. And she probably would have lived even longer than that. And I'm just thinking to myself, their parents have been gone for such a long time, and they're blaming their parents why they didn't save for retirement. Their parents who left them with massive amounts of wealth, left them with real estate, left them with homes. They squandered it all away. And it's like you wonder about things. I know when one of my grandparents passed away, they had like a bank account with all of this money in it. And what happened to all of that money? Like the only person who had access to it would have been my parents. So what happened to all of that money? That was over a decade ago. You know, where did all of that money go? Nothing. Radio silence from the baby boomers because what likely happened? Maybe they lost access to it, or the more likely answer is that they emptied the account, they stole all of the funds, and they spent it on themselves, and and that was that. That that's how the boomers operated. That's that's the boomers for you. Okay? The boomers who stole our futures. You know? That's what they did. That's why I say like the only thing we can do right now to prepare ourselves for hard times is using crypto. Crypto is a hedge against these terrible times that we are now facing. Ask you something. When the banks collapse, and trust me, it's coming, will you be ready? Imagine waking up to ATMs that don't work, bank doors chained shut, and millions of people left with nothing. No cash, no access to their savings, and no way to survive. But it doesn't have to be that way for you. That's why I created Angry's Crypto Academy to teach you everything you need to know about crypto so you can protect yourself and your family. You'll learn how to buy, sell, and even day trade crypto for a living. Plus, we alert you to new crypto trends so you can profit before everyone else even knows what's happening. Right now, I've just published an exclusive investment guide inside the Academy, and it's linked in the description below. In it, I reveal the one coin that could make you a millionaire. A coin so revolutionary, it could change everything. If you missed out on Bitcoin and Ethereum, this is your second chance. This isn't just about financial freedom, it's about survival. When the system collapses and everyone else is selling, you'll be the one buying, prepared to weather the storm and thrive while others struggle to survive. Don't wait. This knowledge isn't optional, it's critical. The link's in the description. Go check it out now.
boomers millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Y. Now, this is not a video to bitch and moan. You can still be very, very successful. With that said, this video is stating facts. And the fact of the matter is the boomers have screwed every following generation. Now, why? Well, a couple of reasons. One, they have put into place policies that have guarded their wealth, mostly in real estate and in the stock market. Secondly, the boomers are the generation that makes up the largest portion of politicians. And those politicians have gone on to spend and spend and spend. Why? Because they know that they are going to be damn well dead before it becomes a problem. So you have a generation that got extremely, extremely wealthy on the back of a booming economy after the Second World War. Then they decided to enact policies like single residence laws, like zoning laws in real estate, and like tax breaks and tax loopholes in the stock market to benefit and to guard their wealth. That has created an insurmountable amount of wealth for boomers in the form of real estate and stock net worth. At the same token, those inflated prices have made it more and more and more difficult for every following generation to be able to afford basic necessities like housing. Now, I'm not here saying that we should completely destroy the real estate market. I'm not here saying that real estate shouldn't appreciate. What I'm trying to say is that when you look at your life and you compare it to people who are older than you, and then they go on and tell you, well, you should work harder, or just get another job, or just work your way through college, or whatever. The fact of the matter is it's not necessarily that person's fault because they probably don't understand. But if you want to do yourself a favor and you want to be able to educate other people, research into the policies that were enacted during the 50s and 60s and 70s. Okay, do some research in there. Look at the trends in real estate, in stock markets, and in wages. Okay, and then look at the ownership in major companies. What age group tends to own the majority of the ownership in major publicly traded companies? Do that research, and then maybe then you can better educate your family, your friends, people who are older than you who think that you are lazy. I know you are not lazy, and just because you were not a millionaire by the time you were 30 or 40 does not mean that you were lazy. It means that you were given worse cards than the previous generation. Now, on the same token, I'm here to tell you that you are blessed to live in the day and age of the internet. It is a huge resource, and if you dedicate yourself to anything, to any sort of trade, any sort of hobby, you can make money with the internet. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. At the same token, you were given much worse cards than your parents and than your parents' parents. So, when you feel like you're struggling, when you feel like the economy sucks, it does. When you feel like wages do not keep up with the cost of rent or housing, you're right. They have not kept up. Historically, they have not. So, keep that in mind. Also, keep in mind that federal minimum wage has not been raised since 2009. Okay, keep all of that in mind. All right. I hope this video was informative. I hope I didn't drag it out too long.
I mean, they stole our futures from us. And that's why with crypto, we can steal at least some of it back. Because if there's one thing for sure when it comes to the boomers, is greed. They say greed is good. We know that the boomers are greedy. So as their existing markets begin to deteriorate and they begin watching as new markets emerge, specifically cryptocurrency. And for those of you that don't want to learn about crypto, I don't care. I really don't care. You can go hang out in Tyrone Tent City. I don't care. And I hope I never see you again. But for those of you that actually want to survive and thrive and be ahead of the game, start making small investments in crypto and start learning how the technology works. Go check out Angry's Crypto Academy. It's one of the best places where you can learn how to buy, sell, trade, and invest in crypto. And go learn about crypto, begin investing in crypto. There's a specific crypto coin that I've talked about many times, and I've said that, this is an incredible investment that everyone should hold at least one of these coins. I have most of my portfolio in it. About 85% of my portfolio is in this one coin because I'm so sure about it that it is the next Bitcoin. And when I say the next Bitcoin, I mean within 10 years, I believe this coin will be going for anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 or more. So I've put most of my portfolio into it, and then I've diversified into a bunch of other coins as well. But I feel like many of you are playing stupid games, or you're going to win stupid prizes. But we know that the boomers are greedy, and we have crypto ETFs that are coming for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others, including my favorite coin. And the boomers are going to want to start grabbing up as much crypto as they can. They're going to want all the toys for themselves. So a lot of their money is going to be pouring out of the stock market, or rather, it's not going to leave the stock market, but it's going to be moving from common stocks over to ETFs and into cryptocurrency, crypto ETFs. And again, the boomers, they want all the toys for themselves. If you look at BlackRock, whatever BlackRock is doing, that basically tells us the direction the world is heading in. BlackRock is sitting on $50 billion in Bitcoin right now. So if that doesn't tell you that they are serious about Bitcoin, then I don't know what else, and cryptocurrency, I don't know what else. So, you know, once these things start happening, once these ETFs take off, the boomers are going to they're going to start trying to buy up as much crypto as they can because they want it all for themselves. They're greedy, and that's how we could take advantage of their greed. All right. So basically, when they start, when they start buying, that's when we will have the opportunity to basically charge out. That's when we should start selling, right? And we can charge whatever the hell we want to for our coins. And of course, we don't sell all of them. We take a profit, we make profit, and then we hold on to maybe even the majority of our crypto assets, and we leave, and then we can do what we want with that. And these companies will eventually have to pay us interest just to have access to our coins, and they're going to have to pay a lot of interest, just to be clear. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts. Most baby boomers are rapidly becoming homeless. Do you feel bad for them? Do you think that they're going to get a bailout somehow? Like the government's is going to find $50,000 to $60,000 a year to give them, to bail them out? I just don't see it. Let me know your thoughts. We'll talk, and let me know if you think let me know if you think their kids are going to ultimately be the ones to bail them out. Again, I also just don't see it. Maybe some of them, but probably not most of them, as a result of what the boomers have done. And of course, there are going to be boomers in the comments who try to dispel and dispute my video. I don't care. Let me know your thoughts. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWAM and walking away. And cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.